Have you ever noticed that the more you avoid something, the harder it becomes? Not just the task itself, the very thought of it, the weight of it sitting in the back of your mind, the guilt that creeps in every time you remember you haven't done it yet. Your brain gets better at whatever you repeatedly ask it to do, including avoiding hard things. If you automatically reach for your phone when work gets boring, if you postpone tasks until you feel motivated, if you quit when something becomes frustrating, if you constantly choose instant gratification over long-term goals, those patterns become easier to repeat. But here's the good news. You can train the opposite pattern too. Meet Tom, 32, lives and leads, has a good job, a supportive partner, and a long list of things he keeps meaning to do. Learn Spanish, get fit, start that side project, finish that course he signed up for 6 months ago. Tom isn't lazy. He isn't stupid. He just has a brain that's learned a very simple equation. Hard thing equals discomfort. Discomfort equals avoid. Avoid equals relief. Relief equals repeat. Today, we're going to break that equation. Not with extreme willpower. Not with toxic positivity. Not with complicated productivity systems that take longer to set up than they save. We're going to use 33 simple habits that train your brain to do hard things. Not by making them easy, by making yourself better at doing them while they're still hard. Let's start with the one that changes everything. Habit 1. Stop asking whether you feel like it. Imagine you get home from work and plan to exercise. You sit down for a minute. Then your brain starts negotiating. You're tired. You could exercise tomorrow. Missing one day won't matter. Maybe you'll have more energy in the morning. And all of those things might be true. The problem is the question you're asking. And that equation has been running on autopilot for years. Do I feel like exercising? If that's the question, the couch has a very good chance of winning. The same thing happens with studying, cleaning, writing, making an uncomfortable phone call, or working on something complicated. We often expect motivation to come first and action to follow. But motivation fluctuates. It's unreliable. It changes based on sleep, stress, mood, and 100 other variables. So replace the emotional question with a practical one. What do I do next? You don't feel like exercising? Fine. The next action is putting on your shoes. You don't feel like studying? Fine. The next action is opening the book. You don't need to manufacture enthusiasm before you act. One of the most useful habits for doing hard things is learning that wanting to do something is optional. Starting isn't. Habit 2. Make the first action ridiculously clear. Work on my project sounds like an instruction. It isn't. Neither is study, get fit, clean the house, fix my finances. These describe outcomes or categories of work. Your brain still has to figure out what to actually do. And when you're already resisting something, another decision creates another opportunity to delay. Instead of study chemistry, try open chapter 6 and answer question 1. Instead of work on the presentation, try open the presentation and write the first 3 slide headings. Instead of clean the kitchen, try put the dirty dishes in the dishwasher. Whenever you're procrastinating, ask what is the first physical action. If another person couldn't follow your instruction without asking a question, it probably isn't specific enough. Hard projects become much less intimidating when you stop trying to start the whole project and start one visible action. Habit 3. Train starting before you train endurance. Suppose you haven't exercised in 6 months. You probably wouldn't expect your body to comfortably handle the workout of someone who has trained every day for years. Yet people do exactly this with focus. They've spent months working in 5-minute bursts between notifications, messages, videos, and social media. Then they decide, tomorrow I'm doing 3 hours of deep work. When that fails, they assume they lack discipline. Don't start by training endurance. Train starting. Your first goal might simply be sitting down at the planned time and working for 10 minutes. Do that consistently, then 15, then 20. The person who can reliably begin has something to build on. The person waiting for enough motivation to complete 3 hours may never begin at all. Habit 4. Use the 10-minute entry. This is one of the easiest habits to use immediately. When you strongly resist a task, commit to 10 minutes. Not finishing. Not doing an amazing job. 10 minutes. If you need to clean, clean for 10 minutes. If you need to write, write for 10 minutes. If you've been avoiding your taxes, spend 10 minutes gathering the documents. If you need to exercise, move for 10 minutes. At the end, you're allowed to stop. Often, you'll continue because the task feels different once you're already doing it. But continuing isn't required. The purpose is to reduce the cost of entry. A task you imagine doing for 2 hours can feel enormous. The same task for 10 minutes can feel manageable. You're practicing the behavior you actually need most, starting before you feel ready. Habit 5. Stay 1 minute past the urge to quit. Now we train the other side. You started. You're working. Then something becomes uncomfortable. The paragraph is confusing. The exercise is difficult. The spreadsheet is tedious. You don't know what to write. Suddenly, your phone becomes extremely interesting. Pay attention to that moment. The desire to switch tasks often appears right after the current task becomes more uncomfortable. Instead of immediately obeying the urge, stay for 1 more minute. Read the paragraph again. Write another sentence. Finish 1 more problem. Walk another block. You're not forcing yourself through hours of misery. You're practicing a tiny delay between discomfort and escape. This is important because procrastination is often tied to short-term mood regulation. Avoiding an aversive task can provide immediate emotional relief, even though the delay creates problems later. So when discomfort arrives, don't automatically treat it as an instruction. Sometimes it's simply part of the task. Habit 6. Stop rewarding avoidance with immediate relief. Here's how an avoidance habit quietly strengthens. You open a difficult report. You feel confused. You check Instagram. Confusion disappears. You try studying. You become bored. You open YouTube. Boredom disappears. You think about making an uncomfortable call. You postpone it. Anxiety temporarily decreases. Your brain is learning something from that sequence. Hard thing. Uncomfortable feeling. Escape. Relief. Repeat that often enough, and escape becomes an increasingly familiar response. So start interrupting the sequence. Hard thing. Uncomfortable feeling. Pause. Continue briefly. You don't have to feel good. You simply stop making immediate escape the automatic reward for discomfort. Habit 7. Move your phone out of reach. You could spend the next hour trying not to check your phone, or you could put your phone somewhere else. The second option is much easier. If the phone is beside your keyboard, checking it takes almost no effort. You don't even have to consciously decide. Hand moves. Phone opens. 5 minutes disappear. So physically increase the distance. Across the room is better than beside you. Another room can be even better during an important focus block. This isn't weakness. It's environment design. Self-discipline becomes easier when the behavior you're trying to avoid requires a little more effort. Habit 8. Turn off non-essential notifications. Even if you don't respond to every notification, each one creates an invitation. Someone liked something. Someone messaged you. Something happened. Something might be interesting. Now part of your attention has a new question to resolve. You don't need most apps to interrupt you immediately. Turn off notifications that don't genuinely require your attention in real time. You can still check them. You're simply deciding when they get access to you instead of allowing them to decide. Habit 9. Practice one-task work. Try this for 1 session. 1 task, not a report plus messages, plus email, plus shopping, plus 3 browser tabs you might need later. 1 task. If your focus is weak, start with 20 or 25 minutes. During that time, don't casually switch. Research on task switching suggests that switching carries cognitive costs. Unfinished tasks can also continue occupying attention after a switch. So give your attention enough time to settle. 20 clean minutes can sometimes produce more useful work than an hour spent repeatedly leaving and returning. Habit 10. Write distractions down instead of following them. You're working. Suddenly you remember, I need toothpaste. Normally you might open a shopping app. Instead, write buy toothpaste. Continue working. 5 minutes later, I need to email Sarah. Write it down. Continue. Then I wonder how much flights cost. Write it down. Continue. This trains a surprisingly important ability. A thought doesn't have to become an action. Your brain can produce an idea without you immediately following it. Process your list when the focus block ends. Habit 11. Practice small amounts of boredom. Waiting for coffee? You don't necessarily need your phone. Standing in a short line? You could just stand there. Taking a short walk? You don't always need something playing. Boredom isn't an emergency. This matters because many hard things contain boring parts. Learning a language involves repetition. Exercise involves repetition. Building a business involves repetitive administrative work. Studying includes material you won't find fascinating. If you automatically escape whenever stimulation drops, sustained effort becomes much harder. You don't need to make your life intentionally boring. Just stop treating every unstimulating minute as a problem that needs fixing. Habit 12. Do the hard thing before the easy reward. Try changing the order. Study, then game. Work, then scroll. Exercise, then watch the show. Clean, then relax. Write, then check social media. The enjoyable activity isn't forbidden. It simply moves. This is useful because easy rewards are extremely good at expanding. You plan to watch one video before studying. 45 minutes later, you're still watching. Put the bounded, difficult activity first when practical. Then enjoy the easier reward without having the unfinished task hanging over you. Habit 13. Stop trying to dopamine detox. You don't need to remove pleasure from your life or somehow flush dopamine out of your brain. Dopamine detox is a catchy phrase, but dopamine isn't toxin. It's involved in motivation, learning, and reward-related processes. The useful question is behavioral. What happens when you encounter discomfort? Do you immediately grab stimulation? Can you work without constantly switching? Can you eat without scrolling? Can you wait without checking? Don't obsess over eliminating dopamine. Train your behavior around easy rewards. That's something you can actually control. Habit 14. Protect your best mental hours. Hard tasks feel very different depending on when you attempt them. Think about something cognitively demanding. Writing, studying, analyzing data, solving a complicated problem. Now compare doing it when you're mentally fresh with doing it after 10 hours of work and poor sleep. Same task, completely different experience. Identify when you usually think most clearly. Then stop automatically spending all of that time on low-value activities. If your brain works best in the morning, don't give the entire morning to email, notifications, and social media. Give at least part of your best mental window to your hardest meaningful task. Habit 15. Stop treating sleep as wasted productivity time. Cutting sleep can look productive because you gain waking hours, but those extra hours don't necessarily contain the same quality of attention and motivation. Research has found that sleep restriction can reduce willingness to exert cognitive effort and impair sustained attention. So if every hard task suddenly feels unreasonable after several short nights, don't automatically interpret that as a discipline problem. Sometimes you're asking an underrested brain to repeatedly choose high-effort behavior. Protecting adequate sleep isn't separate from training your brain to do hard things. It's part of giving yourself the capacity to do them. Habit 16. Give hard tasks an actual time. I'll do it later. Later isn't time. I'll exercise tomorrow. Still not a plan. Compare that with after breakfast, I'll walk for 20 minutes. Or at 9 o'clock, I'll open the report before checking email. Now the behavior has somewhere to happen. This reduces the repeated decision. Should I do it now? Should I wait? Maybe after lunch? Maybe tonight? Maybe tomorrow? Decide once. Then let the clock or an existing routine become the cue. Habit 17. Use if-then plans. This takes scheduling one step further. Create a simple rule. If X happens, then I do Y. If I finish breakfast, I start my walk. If I sit at my desk, I open the report before email. If I feel like checking my phone during my focus block, I write down what I wanted to check and continue. If I miss my morning study session, I do 20 minutes after dinner. You're making fewer decisions in the difficult moment because you've already decided how you'll respond. Habit 18. Plan for the excuse before it arrives. You already know many of your excuses. I'm tired. I don't have enough time. I don't know where to start. I'll do it tomorrow. I need to check something first. Don't act surprised when they return. Decide what happens beforehand. If you're tired, you do the minimum version. If you're short on time, you do 10 minutes. If you're confused, you identify the smallest next action. If you want your phone, You wait until the work block ends. Good systems don't assume you'll always feel cooperative. They include instructions for the predictable moments when you won't. Habit 19. Have a minimum version of every important habit. Your normal workout might be 45 minutes. Your minimum could be 10. Your normal study session might be an hour. Your minimum could be 15. Your normal writing target might be 1,000 words. Your minimum could be 10 minutes of writing. The minimum version protects continuity. It stops this. I can't do the full workout, so I'll do nothing. You replace it with, I can't do the full workout, so I'll do the minimum. This is especially useful on busy or low-energy days. The minimum isn't the ultimate goal. It's the version that keeps the behavior alive. Habit 20. Build reliability before intensity. If you've been procrastinating for weeks, don't try to fix everything tomorrow. That's usually when people create the legendary comeback schedule. Wake up at 5. Exercise. Meditate. Read. No social media. 3 hours of deep work. Meal prep. Clean everything. Bed at 9. That IT looks fantastic tonight. Tomorrow, it becomes exhausting. Instead, become reliable first. 20 focused minutes every day. A short workout you actually repeat. 10 pages every evening. One difficult task completed before entertainment. Once the behavior becomes reliable, increase the demand. Consistency gives you something intensity alone cannot. Repetitions. Habit 21. Increase difficulty gradually. Eventually, 10 minutes should become 15. 20 minutes can become 30. 30 can become 45. If you're exercising, gradually increase the appropriate challenge. If you're studying, increase the duration or difficulty. If you're reducing phone distraction, extend your phone-free work period. You're building capacity. The challenge should be difficult enough that you're practicing effort, but manageable enough that you can return tomorrow. Don't test the maximum amount of discipline you possess every day. Train it. Habit 22. Stop before every session becomes miserable. This sounds strange in a video about doing hard things, but if every productive session ends with you completely exhausted, tomorrow's task starts carrying yesterday's memory. You don't have to read until you hate reading. You don't have to exercise until you're wrecked. You don't have to work until you can barely think. Sometimes, ending at a plan point makes returning easier. Hard things should require effort. They don't need to become punishment. Habit 23. Remove unnecessary difficulty. Don't confuse discipline with inconvenience. If laying out your workout clothes makes exercising easier, do it. If a template makes your work faster, use it. If preparing lunch in advance helps you eat the way you intended, prepare it. If a website blocker helps you concentrate, use one. You don't receive extra credit for making useful behavior harder. A good rule is train yourself to tolerate necessary effort. Remove unnecessary effort. That's a much more sustainable approach to self-discipline. Habit 24. Prepare tomorrow's hard thing tonight. Before finishing your day, identify the important thing you're most likely to avoid tomorrow. Then prepare it. If you're exercising, put out your clothes. If you're studying, leave the book and notebook ready. If you're writing, leave the document ready at the place where you'll restart. If you're working on a project, write down exactly what you need to do next. Tomorrow's version of you shouldn't have to reconstruct today's plan. Make starting obvious. Habit 25. Use a 2-minute night setup. This is the practical version of the previous habit. Take 2 minutes before bed. Ask, what's the most important hard thing tomorrow? Then, write its first action. Not work on presentation. Write, open slides and draft slides 4 and 5. Not exercise. Write, put on shoes and walk outside. Not study. Write, open chapter 9 and answer questions 1 through 5. That's enough. You're reducing tomorrow's decision load tonight. Habit 26. Keep your to-do list realistic. A 15-item list can create the illusion that you're organized. It can also guarantee that every day ends with unfinished work. Instead, identify the tasks that would make the day meaningfully better if completed. Then, add a small number of secondary priorities. Everything doesn't deserve equal importance. This also helps with hard things because one clearly important task is easier to approach than staring at a wall of 14 obligations and deciding where to begin. Your goal isn't to complete every possible task. It's to move the right things forward. Habit 27. Restart at the next opportunity. You will mess up. You will procrastinate. You'll get distracted. You'll skip a workout. You'll waste a morning. You'll spend 40 minutes scrolling when you intended to spend 5. The useful skill isn't creating a life where that never happens. It's shortening the distance between slipping and returning. Miss Monday, return Tuesday. Waste the morning? Use the afternoon. Get distracted for an hour? Come back for 10 minutes. Don't wait for Monday, next month, or January. The faster you restart, the less expensive mistakes become. Habit 28. Replace guilt with the next action. Suppose you've wasted 2 hours. You can now spend another 30 minutes thinking, I have no discipline. I always do this. I'm wasting my life. Or you can ask, what's the next useful action? Guilt can sometimes push people into action, but it also adds emotional weight to a task that was already difficult. You don't need to resolve your opinion of yourself before getting back to work. Open the document. Put on the shoes. Wash the first dish. Read the first page. Action gives you somewhere to go. Self-criticism often doesn't. Habit 29. Separate rest from avoidance. Rest is not the enemy of discipline, but rest and avoidance aren't identical. Intentional rest sounds like, I'm tired. I'm taking an hour off and I'll return after dinner. Avoidance sounds like, I'll check my phone for 5 minutes. Then 90 minutes disappear. Point one has a boundary. The other keeps extending because you haven't really decided what you're doing. When you need rest, rest properly. Stop working. Recover. Then return when you plan to. Clear rest is often better than spending 2 hours half working and half scrolling. Habit 30. Stop building complicated productivity systems. If your productivity system requires a 40-minute tutorial, it may have become another project. You don't need 5 apps, 6 trackers, 3 color-coded calendars, and a perfect morning routine before you can do hard things. The basic system is much smaller. Know what matters. Know when you're starting. Know the first action. Remove the easiest distraction. Start. Stay. Stop at a reasonable point. Return tomorrow. Productivity tools should reduce friction. If maintaining the system becomes more work than doing the task, simplify it. Habit 31. Do one hard thing every day. This is where everything starts coming together. Choose one useful thing each day that you'd normally prefer to avoid. It doesn't need to be enormous. Make the call you postponed. Complete the workout. Do the focused study session. Clean the thing you've ignored. Work on the difficult part of the project. Start the application. The goal is to deliberately practice approaching effort. One hard thing a day gives you regular repetitions without turning your entire life into a self-discipline challenge. Habit 32. Keep the same hard thing for 7 days. If you want to turn this into an experiment, choose one area. Maybe studying, writing, exercise, reading, a work project, or something you've been avoiding. For 7 days, practice approaching it consistently. Define the first action. Choose when you'll begin. Remove your biggest distraction. Start with a manageable amount. Notice when you want to escape. Stay slightly longer, then return tomorrow. If 20 minutes becomes comfortable, increase it slightly. You're not trying to have 7 perfect days. You're accumulating repetitions of the behavior. I said I'd start, and I started. That's much more valuable. Habit 33. Do it now. And this is the habit that makes the other 32 useful. Do something before this video becomes another piece of information you consumed and forgot. Don't reorganize your life. Don't make a complicated plan. Pick one thing you've been avoiding, then identify the first physical action. Email? Open it. Studying? Put the book in front of you. Exercise? Put your shoes on. Cleaning? Choose one small area. Work? Open the file. Now give it 10 minutes. At some point, your brain may offer an easier alternative. Check your phone. Get something to eat. Watch one video. Do it tomorrow. You don't need to argue with the thought. Just don't immediately follow it. Stay another minute, then another. One paragraph, one problem, one set, one small part of the task. Because that's what you're actually training. Not the ability to enjoy every hard thing. Not endless motivation. Not extreme willpower. You're training the ability to experience resistance without automatically letting resistance decide what you do. Over time, you can get better at starting before you feel motivated, better at staying when something becomes boring, better at ignoring distractions, better at restarting after a bad day, better at choosing a delayed benefit over an immediate escape. And hard things don't have to become easy for this to work. You become better at doing them while they're still hard. That's a much more useful form of self-discipline. Here's a question for you. What would your life look like 1 year from now if you finally stopped avoiding the hard things? Not perfect, not overnight, just consistently starting, consistently staying, consistently returning when you slip. That version of you is already waiting, and all they need is for you to start and not stop. So pick one thing, one hard thing. Identify the first action and do it now, not tomorrow, not Monday, now. Because the only habit that matters more than all 33 combined is the one that says, I'll start right now. Now go do it.